Metal rattled hard enough to shake the walls. He stopped mid-step, listening. It came again. A sharp scrape. Then a thud. Not wind. Not livestock. Something fighting metal. He stepped toward the abandoned feed shed, boots slow on dirt. The door hung crooked. A tarp covered something large inside. The sound came again, weaker now. "Stop," he said, voice low. "Stop shaking it." Silence answered him. He pulled the tarp back. A cage. Rusted. Built for calves. Inside it, a girl curled against the bars, wrists raw, eyes wide and dry like she had already cried everything out. He stared at her. "Who did this?" She didn't blink. Her fingers tightened around the wire. "Don't let him hear you," she whispered. "Hear what?" She glanced toward the hill where the sheriff's ranch sat like it owned the sky. He followed her eyes. "Who put you in there?" She swallowed. "You shouldn't be here." "I work here." "Not this part." He crouched closer. The lock on the cage was new. Heavy. Clean against old rust. "How long?" She shook her head. "Days?" "Nothing." "Can you stand?" "If you open it." He looked back toward the ranch house in the distance. No lights moving. No engines. Just quiet pressing down. He stood and grabbed the bolt cutter hanging on a nail by the door. The handles were cold in his hands. He came back and knelt in front of the lock. "This'll be loud," he said. "He'll hear. Then we move fast." She stared at him like she was measuring something. "Why would you help me?" He set the jaws of the cutter around the lock. "Because this ain't right. They all say that. I'm not them." He squeezed. The metal snapped with a crack that echoed through the shed. They both froze. Nothing followed. No truck. No shout. Just wind against tin. He pulled the lock free and opened the cage door slowly. She didn't move. "It's open," he said. She stayed curled. "You gotta come out." "If I do, he'll know." "He already knows something." He reached a hand inside. She flinched hard, slamming back against the bars. "Don't," she said. "Don't touch me." He pulled his hand back. "All right. No touching. But we can't stay." She studied his face like she was searching for a crack in it. "You work for him," she said. "I work land. Not men." "That's not true here." He held her gaze. "It is tonight." A truck engine roared somewhere beyond the trees. Headlights flashed across the far field. She sucked in a breath. "He does rounds," she whispered. "Every night. Then we leave now." She tried to stand and nearly collapsed. He caught her before she hit the dirt. She went rigid in his arms. "Easy," he said. "I got you. Put me down." "You can't walk." "I can." She tried again. Failed. The engine grew louder. Gravel crunched on the road. "Listen to me," he said, firm now. "You want out or not?" Her eyes filled but didn't spill. "Yes." "Then let me carry you." The truck turned toward the sheds. Headlights swept across the broken door. He didn't wait for permission. He lifted her, light as dry hay, and stepped into the dark behind the building. She grabbed his shirt tight. "Don't take me back," she said against his chest. "I won't." "Promise." "I won't." The truck idled near the shed. A door opened. Boots hit dirt. A beam of light cut through the doorway. He moved low along the fence line, keeping the barn between them and the road. "If he sees us," she whispered. "He won't. He always sees." "Not tonight." The flashlight beam swept across the cage inside the shed. He held his breath. The engine revved once, then cut. Silence stretched. A voice called out from the dark. "You in there?" No answer. Another pause. Then the truck door slammed shut. The engine started again, slower this time. It rolled away down the dirt road. He kept walking until the sound faded. Only then did he stop near the tree line behind his small cabin. He set her down gently on the porch steps. She looked smaller outside the cage, like the bars had been holding her shape together. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Clara." "All right, Clara. You're safe here." She looked past him at the dark fields stretching toward the hill. "No one's safe here," she said. He opened the cabin door and stepped aside. "Come inside anyway." She rose unsteady and crossed the threshold. He shut the door behind them, but the sound of the bolt snapping free in the shed still rang in his ears like something had just begun. The cabin smelled of dust and old wood, the kind that waits for company but doesn't get it. Clara sat on the edge of the rickety bed, knees drawn up, hands clenched into fists that trembled slightly. He set a pot of water on the stove, letting it hiss and steam. "Names on the fire escape?" she asked, voice small, almost afraid it would carry outside. "What? Name? You said I was safe. You work the land, not the men." He turned, resting against the counter. "You've been locked in a cage. You think I care about a badge?" She glanced down at her arms. Rope burns ran faintly from wrist to elbow, faded into angry red patches. She flexed her fingers. "They left marks." "That's the point," he said bluntly. "You're marked." She swallowed. "They said it was temporary. Just until I forgot my name." He squinted. "Temporary?" "The sheriff. His men. Her voice caught. They brand people who resist." "My shoulder, you see it?" He stepped closer. Her sleeve slipped just enough. A faint scar, shaped like a badge. "Not livestock. Not cattle." His stomach tightened. "That's his brand. Not theirs. His." He rubbed his jaw. "You sure? Do you doubt it?" "I know him. His family. They vanished." The sheriff's men didn't like questions. "My mother asked too many." He stepped back, heart hammering. "The Harlow case." She looked up sharply. "You know it?" "Everyone knows it. Woman accused the sheriff's son 5 years ago. Nothing came of it. People forget fast." "She didn't disappear by accident," Clara said. Her eyes glimmered with something he couldn't name. They made sure she couldn't speak. "Not in court. Not here. Not anywhere." He ran a hand through his hair. "Why keep you alive?" "Because I remember." He stared at her. "Remember what?" "Everything. Snippets of voices and threats, fragments that didn't make sense in daylight but screamed in memory. No one will believe you." "No one ever believes." "Your mother?" he asked softly. "Gone," she whispered. "Vanished." "I'm gonna get you out of this," he said, more to himself than her. "You can't." "Why?" "They have eyes everywhere." He moved toward the door, listening. Boots. Gravel. "Don't let them see me," she said, panic tightening her chest. He crouched by the window. A beam of light cut across the cabin floor, slow and methodical. "Sheriff's rounds," she whispered. "Every night?" "Yes." "You lie?" "Not tonight." The footsteps paused outside. A low voice called. "Evening." Heard some noise down by the sheds. He froze, heart hammering. "Don't move." "Yes, sir," he said softly, opening the door a fraction. A tall figure in a dust-streaked coat stood under the porch light, hat low over his eyes. "See anything strange tonight?" the sheriff asked. "No," he replied. Long silence, broken only by the wind through the trees. You sure? Yes, sir. The sheriff smiled thin, slow. If you see something that don't belong, you call me. He turned, boots crunching away on the gravel. Clara exhaled like she'd been holding the sound inside for years. He knows, she said softly. He doesn't know everything, he said, pulling the door shut. The lock clicked. She ran a hand over her mouth. I saw him once, before the cage. He laughed at her. Mother. Said no one would remember her. No one would care. He was right. He shook his head. Not me. I remember. I was supposed to forget my name, she whispered. Supposed to become nothing. He set the kettle down and turned. You're something, he said. I am? A witness. The only one left. You survived. She laughed bitterly, low and quick. Survived. That's all they wanted. That's all they care about. Not me, he said again. I care. Another pause. Outside, a truck door slammed, metal scraping against stone. She pressed against the wall, silent. They're leaving, he asked. For now. But they'll come back. Then we wait? No, she shook her head, small but firm. We plan. And they'll come. His hands went to his pockets. Why didn't your mother fight it? She tried. She wrote letters, told people. They sent them back to the sheriff. They laughed at her handwriting, said it was worthless. I watched them. You watched? I was little. Too little to stop it. But I remember. Every word. He walked over and set a hand lightly on her shoulder. Not tonight, he said. Tonight, you rest. Tomorrow, we move. She closed her eyes. Move where? Anywhere they can't follow. For now. Silence again. Only the cabin breathing with them. Outside, the wind picked up, tugging at the tarp on the porch. She turned toward him. Will you lie to him? Yes. Why? Because if I don't, they'll know you're here. And if you do? We survive. Her eyes lingered on his face. I don't know how to survive. You'll learn, he said. We'll learn. The night pressed down against the cabin walls. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, sharp and lonely. Clara's hand hovered near her side, uncertain, almost reaching for something that wasn't there anymore. He noticed. Tomorrow, we start, he said. Tomorrow, we take the first step. She nodded slowly, a shadow of trust forming in the corner of her eyes. The wind hissed again, soft and low. Not safe. Not safe at all, she whispered. I know, he said. But tonight, you're free. And in the dark, with the faint smell of smoke from his old stove, they both understood that freedom could come in small, quiet pieces, stitched together with the faintest trust in the promise that the sheriff didn't know yet. The night outside the cabin pressed down like a weight, dark and endless. Clara shifted on the edge of the bed, knees pulled tight to her chest, eyes darting toward the small window where shadows moved across the dirt road. He sat opposite her, boots on the floor, elbows on knees, staring at her like he was trying to read the pieces she hadn't spoken yet. You know the Harlow case? She asked, voice low. He froze. Everyone knows it. Woman accused the sheriff's son 5 years ago. Nothing came of it. People forget fast. She was my mother, Clara said. The words landed sharp and sudden. He felt the air leave the cabin. Your mother? Yes. Silence fell. Her fingers drummed on her knees. They called her unstable. Lied about her mind. Then she vanished. Just like that. And I was left. He leaned back, eyes darkening. Why didn't anyone help her? They tried. She tried. But the sheriff, his family, the law bends their way. It always does. She swallowed, lips trembling. Why did they keep me alive? Because you remember, he said, recalling the brand. She nodded once, small, stiff. I remember everything. Every threat. Every word they said in that shed. I remember my mother screaming. I remember the fire they burned in the barn after they took her. I remember the smell. I remember the silence afterward. He rubbed his face, jaw tight. I don't know what to do with that. I do, she whispered. What? Remember. Survive. And expose them. He shook his head. Expose who? The sheriff? She looked at him, eyes wide, haunted. Not just him. His whole family. His deputies. Everyone who thought it was okay to lock me in that cage and brand me. He rose and paced, boots creaking. This is bigger than me. Bigger than anyone. If we try to fight, then we fight smart, she cut in. Her voice was small but fierce, like a blade hidden in cloth. Smart? We use what they left behind. Witnesses. Evidence. Everything they thought was hidden. He turned sharply, eyebrows raised. Witnesses? Neighbors. People afraid of them but not blind. They'll listen if I speak. If I show them proof. She slid off the bed, standing unsteadily. Proof? Letters. Notes. Names. Dates. Signatures. He frowned. Letters? Where? Hidden. My mother hid them in the well behind the cabin. She said it was cursed, but it kept people away. She trusted the earth more than the law. He stepped toward her. You think those letters will do anything? They didn't help her. They'll help me, she said. And the sheriff? He'll come for us if we move. Then we make sure he can't. The tension in the room thickened. Outside, a branch scraped against the cabin wall, loud enough to make both of them jump. Clara swallowed and shook her head. I should have gone sooner. I should have run before she stopped. Before what? He asked gently. Before they locked me in the cage. Her voice was bitter, ragged. I'm alive, yes. But my name, my identity, it was meant to vanish. Not tonight, he said firmly. Tonight, you're here. That's enough. She blinked, trying to steady herself. You really think we can take them on? I don't know, he admitted. I only know I'm not leaving you here. She stepped closer, brushing her hand across the scar on her shoulder. The faint outline of the brand gleamed in the dim lantern light. This, she said softly. This is why they kept me. To break me. To make me nothing. But I'm not nothing. No, he said. You're not nothing. You're dangerous if we use it right. She looked at him sharply, eyebrows furrowed. Dangerous? Yes. Dangerous to them. Dangerous because you remember. Dangerous because you can speak. Outside, the wind moaned through the trees, carrying the faint sound of a distant engine. Her pulse quickened. They'll come back tonight, she said. They always do. He nodded. Then we prepare. Tomorrow, we go to the well. We get those letters. We figure out who's left to listen. Clara glanced at the dark road leading to the sheriff's ranch, far above on the hill. That house, she said. I can't face it yet. You will, he said softly. When the time comes, you will. She sank back onto the bed, face in her hands. It's not just a house. It's where they hid her. Where they hid my mother. And the walls, they're full of voices. Voices? Memories. Screams. Things that stick in the wood. You can't clean it. You can't scrub them away. I felt it the first time I was there. It's alive. The house knows. He watched her, silent. The lantern flickered. Then we'll face it together, he said. We don't go in blind. We don't go alone. She raised her head, eyes glimmering. You really mean that? Every word, he said. Outside, the wind carried another sound, distant boots crunching gravel, slow, methodical. Clara froze. They're here, she whispered. For now, no, he said. They don't know we're here. That's enough. Her gaze dropped to the floor. I've spent my life hiding. Watching. Waiting. I'm not a child, but they act like I am. Like I'm nothing. You're not, he said again. You're a witness. You're alive. That makes you dangerous to them. She nodded, faint but firm. Then let's get to that well. My mother's letters. We find out what she left behind. Tomorrow, he said, resting a hand on her shoulder. Tonight, you rest. Just rest. That's enough for now. The lantern flickered again, shadows dancing on the walls. She nodded, laying back, eyes wide in the dim light. I remember everything, she whispered. And I won't forget again. He pulled the blanket over her shoulders, quiet. Outside, the night held its breath, waiting. Waiting for them to act. Waiting for the sheriff to return. Waiting for the small, fragile spark of defiance that had begun to grow in the girl who shouldn't exist. They didn't speak as they stepped outside, just moved through the dark toward the edge of the clearing behind the cabin. The wind picked up, carrying the faint smell of smoke from the barn long burned, and Clara's steps faltered on the uneven ground. This way, she said softly, leading him past a cluster of old oaks. The earth underfoot smelled damp, rich, like it had been hiding secrets for decades. He followed, boots crunching against dirt and gravel. She stopped at the mouth of a well, circular stone slick with moss. Here, he asked. She nodded, fingers tracing the edge. My mother hid things here. Letters. Names. Proof. He crouched, peering into the darkness. It smelled of wet stone and old water, though it was dry now. Why the well? He asked. Because everyone's afraid of it. It's cursed, she said. The sheriff tried to get rid of it once. Threatened the land, threatened the neighbors. No one touched it after that. She reached for a rusted bucket hanging from a rope. She trusted the earth more than the law. He nodded. And what do we find? She lowered the bucket carefully. Everything. Names, dates, witnesses. My mother wrote it all down. Signed it, hid it. The rope groaned as it lowered, scraping against stone. He stayed close, senses tight, listening to the night. If they see us, he began. She cut him off. They won't. Not down here. They think the well swallows people, or curses them. My mother used that to survive. Silence stretched while the bucket hit the bottom with a hollow clang. Pull, she said. He took the rope, yanking slowly. The bucket rose, weighted and awkward. He set it on the edge. Inside were oil-stained letters, tightly wrapped. He untied the bundle. Signatures, he asked. She nodded, fingers trembling. Deputies, sheriffs, witnesses who dared speak. My mother kept it all. She said someday someone would need it. Outside, a branch scraped against the cabin wall. Clara flinched. They're checking the perimeter, she whispered. Always the sheriff's rounds. He glanced toward the hill where the main ranch sat like a crown in the dark. We move fast. Get what we need. Go back inside. She shook her head. No. Not yet. They won't come down here. Not in the dark. Too afraid. He frowned. Afraid of what? Of the well. Of what's in it. Of the things my mother hid. They call it cursed, but it's just truth. They don't want it. He pulled one of the letters out, held it under the faint moonlight. Names, dates, small handwritten notes. This is all evidence, he said. She nodded. Evidence they thought would die with her. A distant engine roared through the valley. Clara's eyes widened. They're closer than before. He looked, saw headlights creeping along the far road. Then we finish. Quick. Together, they pulled the letters from the bucket, stacking them into bundles. She handed him half. Memorize it, he asked. No. Just carry it. Keep it safe. She tugged the remaining stack closer to her chest. If they see this, they won't, he said firmly. Not yet. The wind picked up again, hissing through the trees, carrying a faint echo, like memory scraping stone. Clara's hand brushed against the well's rim. Do you hear it? Hear what? The well. My mother said it screamed at night. People think it's a curse. It's memories. Things buried. Screaming to be found. He swallowed, uneasy, and glanced down into the darkness. The air seemed thick, alive with unspoken voices. We take it all, he said. We bring it inside. She nodded, lifting the last letters carefully. You're sure? He asked. I've waited years, she said, eyes sharp in the moonlight. Years to see it leave this well. To see it in hands that can use it. I'm sure. The sound of gravel shifted closer, crunching under boots. They're circling, she whispered. We have to move faster. He grabbed a bundle, slipping slightly on moss, and ran toward the cabin. She followed, clutching the letters like a lifeline. They reached the porch, hearts pounding. He slammed the door shut behind them, bolting it quickly. Safe? She asked. He nodded, leaning against the wood, chest heaving. For now. They didn't see us. They won't come down here. She sank onto the floor, letters piled in front of her. All of it? All of it, he said. Your mother's proof. Everything she left. She stared at the bundles, long fingers tracing names and dates. She trusted me to keep it alive. To make it mean something. He knelt beside her. And you will. Together, we'll use it. Show them what they hid. What they thought was gone. A shadow passed across the cabin window. They froze. He held a finger to his lips. Not now, he whispered. The air pressed against the walls, thick with possibility. Tomorrow, he said, we move. To the house on the hill. To see the full truth. To face it. Clara nodded, pressing a hand against the letters, heart pounding with fear and anticipation. I'm ready, she said softly, voice barely above the creak of the floorboards. Outside, the wind howled. Somewhere in the dark, a branch snapped. The cabin seemed to hold its breath. The well behind them was quiet again, but the memory of it screamed in their ears, in their bones, in every corner of the valley. And they understood, the fire that had burned long ago under the well wasn't ashes. It was waiting, alive, patient, hungry. Waiting for the right hands to uncover it, to make the silence speak, to let the truth rise like smoke into the night. The sheriff's truck engine rattled down the hill before they even realized it, low and deliberate. He stepped out of the cabin, letters clutched under his arm, and crouched near the window, eyes scanning the dark road. They know we're here, Clara whispered, trembling. He shook his head. Not yet. But they're coming. Always coming. The truck stopped short, headlights cutting through the trees. The shadow of a man stretched across the dirt, tall, broad-shouldered, the badge glinting faintly. He took a slow, measured step toward the cabin. Evening, the sheriff drawled, voice flat. Checking the property? Just water, the ranch hand said, stepping out from behind the door. Clara moved beside him, arms crossed, fingers tight around the letters. Why are you here? The sheriff asked, eyes narrowing. You know why, the ranch hand replied. I'm making sure she stays alive. The sheriff smiled thin, slow. Evening, Clara, he said, voice low, almost casual. Didn't expect to see you. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. You. The sheriff froze, recognizing her immediately. You should have stayed quiet, he said. You locked me in a cage, she spat. You branded me. You trespassed, he said. You resisted. I'm a child, she said softly. No. I'm a witness, the ranch hand said sharply. A witness, Clara repeated. My mother told the truth. You burned her. You hid her. You thought no one would remember. The sheriff's hand twitched toward the gun at his belt. I don't remember, he muttered. I remember everything, Clara shot back. His eyes darkened. You think you can speak against me? I don't think, she said, voice steady. I know. The letters shifted in her hands. She let them fall into the dirt, exposing the names, dates, and signatures. Deputies who had dared speak. Evidence hidden in the well. A murmur ran through the small crowd that had gathered unseen along the tree line. The sheriff's face tightened, lips thinning. You'll regret this, he hissed. No, she said. You'll regret underestimating me. You're just a girl, he snapped. Not just a girl, she corrected. A witness. Alive. Dangerous because I remember. Dangerous because I can speak. One deputy stepped forward, uncertainty in his gait. Sir, maybe we should step back? The sheriff glared at him, then at the ranch hand. You brought this here, he said, voice low, dangerous. I didn't bring it here. You did, the ranch hand shot back. All of it. Every lie. Every lock. Every mark. The sheriff's hand finally left his holster, slow, deliberate. Then prove it, he said. Clara stepped closer, letters still in hand. I don't need to prove it, she said. These do. Every signature. Every note. Every witness who dared speak. They tell the story you tried to bury. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the faint echo of screams from the barn, from the past, from memory itself. The sheriff's jaw tightened, anger like a living thing. If you think paper can beat a badge, not paper, she interrupted. Truth. Witnesses. Memory. Alive people who saw what you did. Silence. Then a porch light flicked on in the distance, neighbors, awake and listening. One by one, faint voices called out. That's her brand. I saw that. She's telling the truth. The sheriff's eyes flicked toward the lights. His power faltered, the control slipping. The crowd murmured, stepping closer. The letters, the witnesses, the girl all collided into a force he hadn't counted on. You're making a mistake, he said, voice lower now. No, Clara said. You made the mistake. The ranch hand moved closer, shadowing her. You thought you could hide it. But it's here. Right in front of everyone. Deputies hesitated, glancing at the crowd. Some lowered their heads. I didn't know, one whispered. The sheriff's eyes darted, searching. This is my land, he snapped. Not anymore, she said. Not when you hide the truth. Not when you brand people to silence them. Not anymore. He stepped back, hand hovering near the gun, but the crowd pressed closer. The porch lights flickered again, shadows moving, faces staring, witnesses alive, watching. Clara lifted her shirt slightly, showing the faint outline of the brand on her shoulder. Check my shoulder, she said. The sheriff's voice faltered. That's mine. Mine, she said, voice cold. You own nothing. You control nothing. You hid bodies, burned barns, locked children in cages, and you thought no one would see. But we saw. I saw. And now everyone else sees. The wind picked up, carrying whispers through the trees, voices of memory and fear. Step back, he said to his deputies. They hesitated, uncertain. I said step back. No, Clara said. Not this time. Not anymore. The sheriff's face contorted, rage and fear mixing. He lunged toward the letters. The ranch hand moved first, pushing him away, blocking the path. Clara grabbed one of the letters, lifting it high. "You won't touch this," she said. The sheriff stumbled back, eyes wild, realizing the power had shifted. The neighbors from the distant houses began stepping forward, lanterns and flashlights flicking on. The sheriff's voice shook now. "You all owe me." "No," Clara said, voice ringing across the darkened clearing. "You owe us." The sheriff's mouth opened, but no words came. His control, his fear, the weight of every secret he had buried, now pressed down on him. The letters, the witnesses, the girl who refused to be silenced, all held him in place. He looked at the ranch hand, saw the determination there, and finally stepped back, retreating toward the truck. Clara's gaze followed him, steady, unflinching. "You can't run," she said softly. The sheriff glanced at the letters in the dirt, at the neighbors beginning to gather, and realized he had already lost. The ranch hand moved to block the truck, hands firm on the door. "Not tonight," he said. "Tonight, you answer for everything." The sheriff's truck engine coughed, but he didn't dare move. The deputies were quiet now, unsure, caught between the law and the truth. Clara looked at the letters again, at the faint outline of her mother's words and names. "This ends tonight," she said. "No more hiding. No more cages. No more brands. Everything will be known." A distant siren began to wail, faint at first, then louder, slicing through the night. State Patrol. They were coming, finally, because the witnesses had called. The sheriff's hand hovered over the wheel. He glanced back at Clara, at the letters, at the neighbors, and knew it was over. His power, built over decades, crumbled in the night. The ranch hand finally released the truck door, stepping aside. Clara bent down, gathering the letters into her arms, holding them to her chest. "We do this together," he said. She nodded, eyes bright with fire and something new, liberation. "Together," she said. The sheriff finally leaned back, defeated, engine idling, the night pressing down around him. Every word he had buried, every crime, every cage, every mark, all now exposed. And in that exposure, the power shifted completely, a quiet justice settling like dust over the valley. Clara didn't speak as they walked up the hill toward the sheriff's house. Every step felt heavier than the last, the earth dry and uneven beneath their boots. The truck lights from the distant road had disappeared, leaving only moonlight and shadow. "Are you sure about this?" the ranch hand asked, glancing at her. "I'm sure," she said, voice low but unwavering. "It's time. I can't let it stay hidden any longer." The house loomed above them, its windows dark and empty, the paint faded and peeling, the kind of house that held memories like traps. The front door hung slightly ajar. She paused at the threshold. "This is where it started," she whispered. "Where they hid her. Where they hid my mother." He stepped beside her, hand brushing hers for a moment before he pulled back. "We go in together," he said softly. She nodded and pushed the door open, the hinges squealing like a warning. Inside, the air was thick with dust and smoke, old and dry. Wooden floors groaned under their weight. They moved through the living room, past furniture draped in white sheets, past portraits of stern faces that seemed to watch them silently. "She was here," Clara said, her voice barely audible. "Where?" "Basement," she said, leading him to a narrow staircase that disappeared into darkness. The steps were cold and uneven. Chains hung from the walls, rusted and sharp. Hooks stuck out from wooden beams. He swallowed hard, the weight of the letters in his bag suddenly heavier. "This is where they kept you?" he asked. She nodded. "Not me first. My mother. They used this place to punish, to scare, to break us." She called it purification. "Purification?" he asked, frowning. "Yes," she said, tracing a finger along a hook. "Every scar. Every mark. Every night here was meant to make us disappear inside ourselves." The basement smelled of damp wood and something older, something that had seeped into the stone walls. She paused near a small burned pit, blackened and still smelling faintly of smoke. This is where they burned the evidence they didn't want anyone to find, she said, voice trembling. A noise upstairs made them both freeze. Heavy boots on wooden floors. The sheriff. You never learn, he said from above, voice flat but dangerous. He stepped into the doorway, his eyes scanning the basement like he owned it. You shouldn't be here, he said, voice low. I am, Clara said, stepping forward. You locked me in a cage. You tried to erase me. You tried to erase my mother. He moved toward them, hand resting near the gun at his hip. You were nothing, he said. You resisted, she shot back. You branded me. He snorted. You think this changes anything? She stepped closer to him, letters held tight. It changes everything, she said. These, she lifted the bundles, are the truth you tried to hide. The ranch hand moved to stand behind her, shadowing her, ready if he needed to act. You shouldn't have come back, the sheriff said, anger creeping into his voice. I had no choice, Clara said. I have to finish what my mother started. I have to show the world what you did. The sheriff's hand moved toward his gun, slow, deliberate. The ranch hand stepped forward, blocking him without hesitation. Not tonight, he said. Tonight, we do it right. Clara's eyes were steady, fixed on the sheriff. I remember, she said. I remember every scream, every burn, every lock, every lie. And I'm not afraid anymore. He sneered, lunging toward her. The ranch hand shoved him back. Clara bent down and picked up one of the letters from the pile she had brought. She held it high. Look at this, she shouted. Do you recognize it? The sheriff's face twisted, a mixture of rage and fear. Where did you get that? From the well. From the earth you tried to hide it in. From the memory you thought would die. A faint sound rose from somewhere behind them. Voices. Footsteps. Neighbors who had followed, hidden in shadows, gathering silently outside. Clara's voice rang out again. You can't erase this. The sheriff's hand lingered over his gun, but the weight of exposure pressed down, crushing his authority. You all hear it, she shouted toward the basement walls and up to the windows. This house is full of memory. Of screams. Of truth. You tried to lock it away, but it's alive, and I'm alive. The letters spilled into the dirt at her feet, the ink catching the faint light, names and dates stark against the paper. One of the sheriff's deputies whispered, I didn't know. The sheriff froze, glancing at the letters, at the crowd assembling outside, and realized his power was slipping fast. Clara stepped forward, showing the faint outline of the brand on her shoulder. You see this, she said. Your mark. On me. On my mother. You tried to erase it. You failed. He staggered back, pale, unsure, hands shaking. The ranch hand moved beside her, steady. This is what happens when you hide truth, he said. This is what happens when you brand people to silence them. They remember. They speak. They survive. The wind rose, hissing through cracks in the walls, carrying echoes of old screams, whispers, and memory. Clara's hand rested on the letters. We take it all, she said. Every name. Every signature. Every witness who survived. And we show the world what you did. The sheriff's eyes flicked toward the gathering crowd, dimly lit by lanterns and the moon. Neighbors, once afraid, now moved closer, voices quiet but firm. This isn't over, he said, voice tight with rage and fear. It is, Clara said, voice sharp. Tonight, it is over. Your house, your cages, your fire, your lies, they're exposed. And there's nothing you can do to hide them anymore. The sheriff backed up the stairs, glancing at the basement, at the letters, at Clara and the ranch hand. Every secret he had buried now pressed down on him. Every mark, every scream, every cage, it pressed him to the ground. And in that press, Clara's voice rose above the house, above the wind, above the night. The truth doesn't die in cages. It rises. And so do we. The ranch hand nodded, silent. Outside, neighbors whispered and shifted, gathering courage. The house on the hill, once a place of fear and power, now held only memory and exposure, and Clara stood in the center, small but immovable, surrounded by letters, shadows, and the quiet insistence of justice. The first light of dawn bled over the valley, weak and gray. Clara stood on the porch of the sheriff's house, letters clutched against her chest, and watched the shadows of the trees shift in the morning wind. The sheriff was gone, retreating down the hill in his truck, leaving behind the emptiness of a power he no longer held. The ranch hand stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes scanning the tree line. "You did it," he said, voice low, almost in disbelief. "We did it," she corrected, her eyes fixed on the valley below, where neighbors slowly emerged from their homes, whispers trailing behind them. The letters, now piled on the porch, were evidence, memory, and survival all at once. Clara knelt and ran her hands over them, fingers trembling. "It's real," she said softly. "All of it. Every threat, every scream, every cage, every fire. It's all here." He nodded. "You survived. That's what matters. The rest, we handle together." She looked up, eyes hard, wet, and alive. "Together," she said. A branch scraped the side of the house, low and dry. The wind carried faint echoes of the past, her mother's voice, the screams from the basement, the scrape of chains, the metal lock snapping open. Clara swallowed hard, letting the memories roll over her like a wave. "I thought I'd never see daylight again," she said. "I thought I'd stay inside that cage forever, like a shadow." He put a hand on her shoulder. "You're outside now. Free." "Free," she whispered. That word didn't mean anything until tonight. The ranch hand gestured toward the letters. "All of this, your mother left it for a reason. It belongs to everyone now." Clara took a deep breath and lifted the top bundle. Names, dates, signatures, small notes hidden in the folds of paper. They tried to erase her. Me. They tried to erase the truth. But it's alive. And it can't be buried again. He watched her, silent. "What now?" he asked. She looked out over the valley, sunlight breaking through mist. "Now, we make sure everyone sees. Every neighbor, every town, every person they thought would look the other way. The truth can't be locked in a basement. It can't be burned. It can't be branded out of us." Her eyes narrowed, a flicker of fire in the pale light. "We go to the others who survived. We find the ones who hid, the ones who stayed silent because they were afraid. They'll speak now." He nodded, swallowing hard. "And the sheriff?" she asked, voice low. "He's powerless. For now. We don't chase him. We let the letters, the witnesses, and the memory do the work. He can't hide from what everyone now knows." The sound of boots on gravel made them turn. A small group of neighbors approached, hesitant but curious. "Clara," one asked softly. She stepped forward, letting the letters fall to the porch, spreading them out so anyone could see. "All of it," she said. "Every lie, every mark, every scream." The sheriff thought it could stay hidden. He was wrong. The neighbors stared, eyes wide. Some whispered, others shook their heads. A few stepped closer, picking up the letters, tracing the names, the notes. One elderly woman muttered, I saw it. I tried to speak." "Now you can," Clara said. "We all can." Another man, younger, pushed forward. "And the cage? The girl?" Clara held up her shoulder, faint outline of the brand visible even in daylight. "The cage is gone," she said. "We are gone from it. Free." She glanced at the ranch hand. "We are free. Not just me. Not just us. Everyone who survived. Everyone who remembers." The group shifted, murmuring, a low buzz of understanding spreading like fire across dry grass. The sheriff's house loomed behind them, silent, empty, its dark windows staring at the sunrise as if it understood it had lost its hold. Clara stepped down from the porch, letting the letters trail behind her, the paper catching in the morning light. "We begin with what's left," she said. The memory. The proof. The voices that never went quiet. The ranch hand followed her, watching her face. She was small, fragile in appearance, but something inside her had grown, something stronger than fear, stronger than chains, stronger than fire and lock and branding. He realized she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was becoming a force. A reckoning. Clara, he said softly. We're doing the right thing. We're doing what they thought impossible, she said. We're not afraid. Another scrape of a branch, a distant dog barking. The sheriff's truck engine was gone, but the echoes of the night lingered. The letters, the evidence, the memories, they weren't just paper. They were life, defiance, and witness all at once. Clara knelt again, gathering the top letter, running her fingers over the ink. She trusted me with this, she said softly. My mother. She left it all for this moment. And you honored her, the ranch hand said. We honored her, she corrected. The neighbors had begun spreading the letters, whispers carrying through the clearing, the valley. It's all true, one woman said. It happened. We saw. We knew. Now the world sees it too, Clara said. And no one can undo it. She looked at the ranch hand. I don't feel small anymore, she said. I don't feel like something to be hidden, or erased, or branded. I feel alive. And I remember everything. He nodded, letting her words sink in. Good, he said. That's what matters. She stood, letters in hand, eyes scanning the horizon where the sheriff had fled. The house on the hill doesn't scare me anymore, she said.